Welcome fellow bookworms to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney and today I have a fun video for you. So for the month of September, I'm going to be letting you, my subscribers, choose my reading order. So I already have my TBR picked out, but I do have a lot of books. I'm not expecting to get to all of them, but I'm hopeful I can because all of these fit for either the Aurelium Readathon, the Autumn Equinox, which is put on by Giet Book Roast, or they fit for the Cryptid Creatures Readathon, which is put on by Tricia at Sweet Tea Reads, and her co-host is Nala at Here There Be Stories. And so obviously I want to get as many books read for those as possible. I do have a lot of books for Aurelium because I do have 3 callings. I'm doing the Godseer, the Necromancer, and the Herbologist calling. And I'm hoping to get a blackout on the Cryptid Creatures Readathon board. Obviously, when you're seeing this, the readathons are over, but I will leave the channels linked down below so you can check them out. And you can also maybe participate next year. Now, Aurelium is done in both there's the autumn equinox in September and then the spring equinox in April. And then I don't know if Teresa's going to do the Cryptid Creatures Readathon again next year, but I'm hopeful. And either way, love her channel. Definitely go check her out. So the way I'm doing this, I'm letting you guys decide by doing emoji polls. And this is also helping to celebrate my reaching the milestone of 500 subscribers. So thank you all for subscribing and being here. So it's celebrating that, it's celebrating my birthday month, and it's just helping me because I have a hard time with decisions, so it's helping me out. So I already did the first set of emojis, and I'm doing an emoji for a hardback, a paperback, and a children's book. I'm going to be juggling all 3 at once. Hardbacks I don't really like to read at night in bed because they're harder for me to hold, so those I will focus on during like the day/evening. Paperbacks I will focus on at bedtime, and then the children's I'll either read first thing in the morning or kind of knock them out in the evening. We'll just kind of see where they slot in. So there will be 3 sets of polls each round. I've already done the first round. I already have the results. I know what I'm reading, and then once I'm ready to read those books, I will set up the next poll. So you'll have however many days it takes me to read the books from the previous poll to vote on the next set of books. So that's kind of how it's going to work. I mean, and you guys will have already been voting. So thank you for voting if you did. And yeah, I'm really excited to get September started, and I hope I can get all these books read, and we'll just have to see how it goes. So I'll start with the children's books, then the paperbacks, then the hardcovers, and I'll start from the bottom up. I'm not going to tell you what they're for except for the one that wins. So some of them are for Cryptid Creatures Readathon, some of them are for Aurelium, some of them fit for both, but I'm only going to tell you the one that wins because this video is going to be extra long, so definitely grab a snack. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll start with the children's books. So the children's books got 20 votes. The bottom of the barrel was Mini Waters by Madeline Lingle. For this one, I did the twin emoji because it's following the twins Sandy and Denny's, and the water drop emoji. But it only got 15% of the votes, so it did not win. I'm not reading that one yet. Then next one, this one actually was leading the pack until like the very end, and then it was tied for a little bit, and then one finally emerged as winner. And so the next one with 40% of the votes was Misty of Chincoteague by Marguerite Henry. For this one, I did the running horse and an island emoji, I believe, but it didn't win, so I'm not reading that one. The one that did win was The Celery Stalks at Midnight by James Howe. This one I did a dog emoji because one of the dogs is a big, well, there's 2 dogs and a cat. So I did the dog emoji, and then I did the clock with the hands pointing at 12. So this one won, and it is for my Necromancer calling. The class is Conjuration for level D. Now, if I don't read the other 2 books, For Conjuration, I can't count this. I do have to read the other 2 levels to get my D level. But the focus was to conjure a snack, and it needed to have food on the cover, and it obviously has celery in the background. So this is what you guys picked for me to read. I'm not going to read the synopsis on these either, but basically you have Bunnicula, who is a vampire bunny, and in this one he's draining the vegetables and they think they're turning into zombies. So I love the Bunnicula series. I've never read the last 3 books. And so this is one of those 3, and I am so very happy that you guys picked this. This is going to be super, super easy. It is not very long at all. Let's see. It's 111 pages and it's children's. It's got pictures, large font. That will be a lot of fun. So that is the one you voted on for my children's books. Next, as far as our paperback goes, we had 26 votes. The bottom of the barrel with only 8% of the votes was God of Lost Words by A.J. Hackwith. This one, I believe I did the cloud face emoji with the writing hand. But like I said, didn't win. So there's that. Then we had, this one got 12% of the votes, and that is Nightbane by Alex Aster. I did the Black Moon with the scales because she's having to kind of make a decision. And so that's kind of why I did the scales, but it didn't win. So there's that one. Then we had, with 35% of the votes, for a while it was winning, but it didn't quite win at the end, and that was Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. And so did not win, so won't be reading that one yet. But what did win with 46% of the votes was Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. I read the Regency fairy tales and the Victorian fairy tale book by this author. Absolutely loved them. And this one is going to be a lot of fun. It's about this fallen angel, and he's trying to get this mortal to do nice things for herself, but she just can't get her to do these like minor sins or anything like that. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun based on this author's previous writing, and it's one of the shorter paperbacks, so it shouldn't be too bad. It's not even, it's 271 pages, so this is a great start, especially because the beginning of the month I'm trying to get all my videos set up so I can just focus on reading later. So this is a great choice, so thank you guys for that. Then we have our hardcovers, and they received 21 votes. The bottom of the barrel, which only received 5% of the votes, was Vengeance of the Pirate Queen by Tricia Levenseller. I think I did a skull and crossbones and a queen emoji for this one, but it didn't win, so I'm not reading that one yet. Then with 14% of the votes, I did Swordheart by T. Kingfisher. I just did a sword and a heart. I kept this pretty straightforward. I bet some of you did guess this one, but it didn't win, so there's that. Then we had, with 33% of the votes, it was winning for a little bit, but then it dropped down, was Tiger's Trek by Colleen. Houck. I was very excited when I thought this one was going to win, because this is one I'm anticipating a lot for, so, but it didn't win, so I'm not reading it yet. The one that did win, though, with, let's see here, 48% of the votes, was The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. I did the Tiger's Trek, I did a tiger and a walking emoji, and this one I did a wave and then the curse face, like cursing face emoji, and this one won, so I'm excited to read this. I think I'm gonna really enjoy this. And this one was for my necromancy calling. It's for spells and incantation, level Q. So again, I need to make sure I do read the other book for my O level in order for this account. It's current spell trends released this year, and this one was in fact released this year. And it's also for the Cryptic Creatures Readathon for the Thunderbird, which is to read a book based around weather. And there is like you have Haven, and she's a trailblazing nautical archaeologist. And she investigates shipwrecks, but she's looking for her father, I believe. But there's maelstroms and misfortunes that are plaguing this town. And there's like this witch that has a magical ability to harness the ocean. So there is that. And I forgot to tell you which prompt these small miracles fit. So this is just for Aurelia. And it's for Godseer Calling. It's for lore, again, D level. So again, I need to make sure I read the 2 books prior to this to get that D level. And it's Myth of the Menace Mule, to read a book with 2 or more M's in the title. And obviously, Small Miracles has 2 M's. So that works for that. And yeah, those are the books I'm going to be reading. I'm not going to be giving you my thoughts on these books in this video, just because, like I said, it is going to be quite long already. And so you can get my thoughts in the wrap-up in October, my wrap-up in October. And then if you want to know more about what they're actually about, I will link my TBR video, because those ones are in my TBR video. So I will leave those videos, my TBR video, linked down below, and then you'll just have to check back for my wrap-up if you want to know my thoughts on these. But this is what I'm going to be reading first. These are all pretty short, which is perfect for the beginning of the month, because I do like to work on my reading journal at the beginning of the month, and I like to get my videos all set. I already tried to pre-film as much as I could. And so I already have most of my videos set. I just have to get my wrap up out, and then I'll be able to focus the whole month on just reading these books. But I do, obviously still have chores. I have an eye appointment this month. So there's little things in there that are going to take away from reading. But you guys started with the perfect set of books, and I will be back when I finish these with the result of the next poll to see what I'm reading next. Okay, so it is now the afternoon of Thursday, September 4th, and I did finish my first set of 3 books, which makes me very happy, because I wanted to finish each set kind of within 3 to 4 days, and at least start the next set, within that 4th day. So I'm very happy that I did finish this. So like I said, I'm not going to go into my full thoughts in this video. Definitely check out my wrap up if you want more thoughts. I'm just trying to keep this video as short as possible. And since, I've already talked about what these books are about in my TBR video and my readathon picks video, and then I'm going to be talking about these in my wrap up. I'm just trying to streamline everything. But I will say I gave the Amalfi Curse 4 stars. I gave Small Miracles 5 stars. And I gave the Celery Stalks at Midnight 4 stars as well. So a great start to the month. You guys picked ones that I really enjoyed, which all of these I'm expecting to enjoy, because I picked my most anticipated reads for the month for my birthday. But yeah, a really strong start. And I do have the results for round 2, which I am excited about what you guys picked. Again, which is no surprise, I catered this TBR to myself. And I also just want to mention, I got my Cryptic Creatures bookmarks in the mail. So we have Loch Ness Monster, we have Bigfoot, we have Mothman, and then we just have the general one with all the different little creatures on it, which they're so cute, and I'm excited to be able to use these. I do have bookmarks for any of the ones that are for William, but the ones that are for the Cryptic Creatures, I will be definitely using these. So I'm very happy to have those in play. So let's go ahead and get into what won round 2. And so we have a whole new set of books. Now in round 3, you will see some repeats. There'll be 2 new books, and then on the hardback and paperbacks, there's going to be 2 repeats, and then 1 repeat on the children's book. And then after that, it's just going to be all ones you've seen before, but it's going to be fun to see what you guys choose. So let's go ahead and start with the children's books. So you guys voted, there were 19 votes on these. The last place one only got 5% of the votes, and that was The Little Prince by Anthony de Saint-Exupéry. And I did the little hand emoji with like the prince or king emoji. But it only got 5%, so not gonna be reading that one. Then the next one, you guys gave 11% of the votes, and I did the like open hand emojis and then like the speaking emoji. And that was The Giver by Lois Lowry. And yeah, like I said, only got 11% of the votes. But you guys did choose with 84% of the votes the next Bunnicula book, which is Nighty-Nightmare. And again, this is by James Howe. And so this one is for my necromancy calling. The class is Conjuration, level O, which is to conjure circles. And it needs to have circles on the cover. And so it has Bunnicula's in a circle, you have the moon up here, and then you also have like the little eyes staring out, which some of them are kind of circular. So this is what I'll be reading, and basically these guys are on a camping trip, and there's a strange dog, and they're gonna try to tell him a bedtime story to get him to fall asleep so they can escape from him. And I'm really looking forward to this. I love the Bunnicula books. Like I said, I have 3 on this TBR, and it's just fun that you guys have so far chosen them back to back, and we'll see if you choose the third one in round 3. So that's the first book that won, and that's for the children's book. For paperback, you guys voted 23 times. And the bottom of the barrel only had 4% of the votes, and that was The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. And this one I did the bicycle emoji and the heart emoji. In the other cover of this, it's a red cover, and it has like a heart that goes down into the bicycle, which is leading away. And this one, it just has the bicycle, but it is a romance, so I figured the heart still works. But only 4% of the votes for that one. The next one got 26% of the votes, and that is Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. For this one, I did the sun and the mailbox emoji because I was thinking, what can I do for bringer? And I figured the mailman brings the mail. So I did the mailbox emoji. This one, if it had one, I would have actually read Godkiller because that one did not win in the first round. And since this is a series, I would need to read it in order. But this one didn't win either, so it was kind of moot point there. Or moot point. Then the next one got 30% of the votes, and you will be seeing this one on round 3, and that's the undercutting of Rosie and Adam by Megan Bannen. For this one, I did the knife emoji and then the man and woman emoji. I was thinking knife for cutting, but it didn't win, but maybe it will for round 3. We'll just have to see. The one that did win with, let's see, 39% of the votes is Behooved by M. Stevenson. And this is for my Gods You're Calling. Again, we're in the class of Conjuration, O level. So conjuring circles, circles on the cover. And you have the sun, which is a circle, and the moon, which is a circle. And this one is a fantasy romance. I think it's more romance leaning, and basically it's kind of an arranged marriage. There's an assassination attempt, and her new husband ends up turning into a horse. So I think he's a horse by day and then a man by night. So I'm excited to read this. It sounds like so much fun. And so I'm really glad it won. Now we're on to our hardcovers, and again, these got 19 votes. So the bottom of the barrel only got 5%, and that is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. The next one got 16. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I did for this one. So The God of the Woods, I did the cloud face for God, and then the camping emoji again. So There's that one. And then we have, with 16% of the votes, The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. For this one, because it has this golden bird on it, I did a gold feather and then a witch. So I figured that worked. And then with 26% of the votes, we have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I did the headstone emoji and again the midnight clock. So the clock that has both hands pointing at the 12. And the one that won, I'm so excited about. This had 53% of the votes. I did a vampire and the lips emoji, and that was The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent. So this is the 4th book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, the 2nd book in the Shadowborn duet. So the Crowns of Nyaxia series, it's 3 sets of duologies, and then you also have a couple of ones that just are set in that world that don't quite fit in, but they're in the Crowns of Nyaxia world. So I'm excited to read this one. Like I said, this is the 2nd one. The 1st one dealt with like the underworld and whatnot. So much fun. This one is for both Aurelium and the Cryptic Creatures Readathon. So this is for my Necromancer Colleen. The class is Spells and Incantations at O level. The focus is Charm Luck, and it was to roll a d6 and read a book in that page bracket. I had rolled a 5. Now, I was watching G's TBR, and I misunderstood, I guess, when I watched the original, like, announcement video, but she did say in her TBR that you could do it both ways, so you could either do, you know, from the 400 to the 499 range if you rolled, like, a 5, so it's, like, the range before it, or you could do it in that bracket, which is what I understood, so I did the 500 to the 599 range, and this one is, like, 540-something pages, so, let's see here. 543. And then it is for the Cryptic Creatures Readathon as well, and it's for Bigfoot, which is to read a book over 400 pages. So this is, once I read this, I'm up to date on all of Carissa Broadbent's works until the 1st book in the next duet comes out. I think it's supposed to come out in August of 2026, if I'm remembering right, which I'm so looking forward to that because I think it's going to be the Bloodborne vampires. And after reading Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, I'm like very excited about that. But I do have to get through Misha and Asar's story, and so I'm excited to read this chunky book. But Carissa Broadbent's writings, like, they're chunky, but it reads super fast. So, I'm really looking forward. I think you guys picked a great set for me. So I have the 2 fantasy romance, one more romance leaning, one more fantasy leaning, and the Bunnicula book, which is going to be so much fun. I'm looking forward to tucking into these. Like I said, I don't really have anything that I need to get to upcoming other than some laundry, and so I'll be able to tuck into these and hopefully by Saturday night or Sunday be able to see what you guys voted for in round 3 and start those books. But for now, I'm gonna get into it, and I'll be back to let you know what I'm reading next. So it is now the morning of Monday, September 8th. And I'm mostly finished with these guys. So I did finish Nighty-Nightmare by James Howe. I gave this one 5 stars. I also finished last night The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent. Definitely 5 stars. Love that. And I'm only 100 pages into Behooved, so I have just over 200 pages left, like 230 pages. The font is pretty big, and those 100 pages did read pretty fast, so I'm confident I can finish this morning and then jump into whatever wins for round 3. I decided to play World of Warcraft this weekend with my husband. Pretty much played all day Saturday. Did read quite a bit yesterday, but this is 543 pages. And kind of small font. It does read faster than you would expect it to, but it's a little bit, denser. And so playing all day Saturday and then playing quite a bit yesterday. I read for the day and then played in the evening. But yeah, so we have 2 5-stars. This one I'm leaning more towards a 4-star right now, but I am only 100 pages in, still have 200 to go. So that could change, but based on the writing right now, it's about a 4-star. So there are those. Then let's see here. We got our results for round 3, and I went ahead and put up the post for round 4 of voting. And I've been loving what you guys have been picking, clearly. I mean, it was pretty easy because I catered this to me. I know I've said that already in this video, but I did cater this TBR to the ones I was really excited about. So let's go ahead, and as always, we'll start with the children's book. So we had 19 votes on our children's books. The bottom of the barrel was, with only 21% of the votes, was C-Star, Orphan of Chincoteague. Looking forward to reading the Misty of Chincoteague books, but not quite yet, because you guys did not vote that. Then with 32% of the votes, we had Mini Waters by Madeline Lingle. So there's that one. And the one that won, which went along with the other 2 rounds, was the final Bunnicula book I have on my TBR. This had 47% of the votes, and that was Bunnicula Meets Edgar Allan Poe, again by James Howe. And I'm really excited to read these. This one, it's like a writer based on Edgar Allan Poe, and he has a crow, and like the kids meet him, and Bunnicula gets to meet the crow. So this sounds like it's gonna be a fun one, and I really enjoyed the other 2 Bunnicula books that I read this month so far. So I'm really happy you guys kind of picked those right in order, and I'm gonna have fun with this one, I have no doubt. So there's that one. Then for our paperbacks, we had 27 votes, which I think is the most votes we've gotten so far. So that was great. And bottom of the barrel at only 4% was Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. This is the 3rd book in that series. So again, if this had won, I would have actually read Godkiller, which is the 1st book, but it didn't, so that doesn't really matter. And then with, let's see here, 26% of the votes, we had The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam by Megan Bannen. With 33% of the votes, we had Nightbane by Alex Aster. And the one that won with 37% of the votes is The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating by Elisabeth Tova Bailey. I'm really glad because this is short, and I'm hoping, since this one's short, and of course we have our children's Bunnicula book, which is short, that I might be able to catch up since I, chose to do other things this weekend. But this one is for, I forgot to say what Bunnicula, actually, let me back up. I forgot to say what Bunnicula is for. So for Bunnicula Meets Edgar Allan Poe, it's for my Godseer calling. The class is lore Q level, and it's ancient post to read a book with letters or notes on the cover or inside the book. And there are letters. First, there's like the editor's note, which has a letter that goes along with it. And then there's even a picture with Harold holding the letter from like the author. So there's that, and the letter is in here as well. So that one works for that. And then for this one, this one does not work for the cryptic creatures at all. For The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating, this is a memoir about a time when she was ill, and she kind of fixated on the snail that was like outside her window. This is also for my Godseer calling. It's for the class Restoration O level, and it's unbroken focus tincture to read a book with a single point of view. Obviously, being a memoir, it's from this author's point of view. This does work for the Cryptic Creatures Readathon. It's for the prompt of bloop, which is to read a book with a noise, and I figured The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating works for that. So that's going to be what I read. And I think this is going to be a little heavier since it does deal with, you know, her illness and everything like that. But I'm really looking forward to this one. And now we're on to our paperbacks. So these got 26 votes. The bottom, well, actually there was a tie for the bottom. And so with 19% each, first we have Tiger's Trek by Colleen Houck. And that obviously did not win, which I'm really looking forward to that one. So maybe it'll win one of these rounds. And then the other book that got 19% was Warrior of the Wild by Tricia Levenseller. With 27%, we have The September House by Carissa Orlando. And the book that won, which I'm kind of happy about because it's the other book that was over 500 pages on my TBR. And so I'm kind of happy that won, so I could get both those 500 page books knocked off. And this had 35% of the votes, and that's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by B.E. Schwab. And this is basically like toxic lesbian vampires. It has 3 different timelines. I'm really looking forward to this. And this also goes towards the Godseer prompt, which is fantastic. And it's also conjuration, and it's Q level, and it's borrowing spells. Borrow from another TBR. This one has been on all sorts of TBRs. Definitely people have read it for the Aurelium already. And so this definitely works for that. It also does work for the Cryptic Creature Readathon for the Chupacabra prompt, which is to read a multi-POV book. Like I said, we're following 3 different timelines and 3 different women. So that will work for that. So, yeah, I'm so excited about this one. I haven't read a lot of V. Schwab. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Loved that one. And Gallant, I think, is the other one I read. But I really enjoyed both of those, and this seems right up my alley with the vampires and the historical element and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward to this. So that's where we're at. 2 tiny books, thankfully, and a very chunky one. I think this might be even bigger than the Fallen and the Kiss of Dust. So this might be the biggest book on my TBR. Okay, maybe not. Nah, it's like 10 pages shorter. Still pretty chunky though. And so yeah, this is my plans for today. I'm gonna finish up Behooved and then jump into Bury Our Bones. And I'll probably read one of these tonight. And then, you know, switch back over to Bury Our Bones tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. And I will be back when I finish these with the results of round 4. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys pick next. You've been doing fantastic so far, and I've had all 4 and 5 stars, so that's been a lot of fun. But I will be back for you guys in just a moment. Okay, so it is about 9:30 at night on Wednesday, September 10th. And I did finish the next round of books. So we are 9 books finished in 10 days. I'm so happy about that. I will say Behooved did end up being 4 stars, which of course was from the second round of voting. And then the third round of voting, you guys had chosen Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. This was definitely 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating was only 3 stars for me. It was really very dry. It was a lot more about the snails. And I was thinking it was going to be more like a memoir and her, you know, journey with this illness. And even when she does talk about the illness, like, it's very impersonal, you know. And so it only got a 3-star for me. And then Banicula meets Edgar Allan Crow also only got a 3-star for me. Didn't love that one. But those are our first 3 stars, and I still enjoyed them overall. Like, I didn't not like them. They just didn't quite hit the mark for me. But Bury Our Bones I absolutely loved. So there are those 3 down. And then I do have the results for round 4 of you guys voting, and I am really looking forward to what you guys picked for me to read. It's kind of going in a little different direction now, and I think it's just what I need. And so yeah, as always, we'll start with the children's books. So for the children's books, we got 13 votes this round, so not as many as we've been getting. The bottom of the barrel with only 23% of the votes was The Giver by Lois Lowry. And so that will just go off to the side. Then with 31% of the votes, we had The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. But that one, which I'm very excited about, I'm ready for this one. I've been hoping it's gonna win. And you guys chose this with 46% of the votes, and that's Misty of Chincoteague by Marguerite Henry. I am really looking forward to this one. I recently got all the Misty of Chincoteague books. This is not for Aurelium though, so this is the first book that's not going to count for Aurelium, but it is for cryptid creatures, and it's going to be for the Bunyip space, and it's really book set near a swamp, bog, or marsh, and I did look it up, and the Chincoteague Islands do have marshland. So I'm excited. This is about the wild Chincoteague ponies and this one mare that they end up catching. And so I'm looking forward to reading that. I don't know if I've ever actually read this one, so that will be good. Then we have our paperbacks, which these only got 12 votes, so not as many. And the bottom of the barrel with only 25% was Nightbane by Alex Aster. So we'll be getting to that a little bit later. Then with, let's see here, 33% of the votes, we had The God of Lost Words by A.J. Hackwith. And the one that won with 42% of the votes was The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. And this is a romance, so I'm looking forward to that. And this is one that I had to add on extra for Aurelium because it was the random country generator. So this is actually for my herbologist calling, which this will be the first book I'm reading for that. It's restoration level Q, so it's continental remedies, generate random country ×5, and pick a book from there. So we got in Rwanda, Australia, Cuba, Botswana, and Guam. And so I went with Australia because I had several Australian options for authors. And this one I just felt like it would be kind of a nice breakup from the fantasy and some of the darker themes. And so I picked this one, and it's a romance, and it's like a techie romance. So he tries to design an app that kind of weeds out a questionnaire app that weeds out and tries to find the perfect match. So I read 2 books that have that premise, and I really enjoyed both. So I'm hoping I will enjoy this one. I found this one at a little free library, and it is not for the Cryptic Creatures Readathon at all. But I'm looking forward to finally getting a herbologist book read. Then we have my hardbacks. And it's actually been working out really well. I actually ended up just binging Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, so I did read it in bed. But the whole idea was to have the hardbacks to read during the day, the paperbacks at night, and then the children's books in the morning or in the evening when my brain's just a little less focused. But I did end up binging Bury Our Bones, and it did hurt my wrist, but I was just enjoying it so much, so I did read it in bed. Anyway, it's been working out really nice juggling all 3. I've really enjoyed it. And so this one we got 19 votes. And the bottom of the barrel with only 26% of the votes was Vengeance of the Pirate Queen. I hope this one wins soon because this will get me my first bingo for the Cryptic Creatures Readathon. But so far you guys have not been voting for that one. Then with 32% of the votes, we had The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. And the one again, that end up winning with 42% of the votes, I believe. It was Swordheart by T. Kingfisher. I really have enjoyed this author in the past. I've only read 2 books, but I just really enjoy them. And I was supposed to read another of the horror books by this author for my family book club last month, and I ended up not getting to it. But both my mom and my sister enjoyed it, and my niece only read half. But my mom and my sister really enjoyed it, so I'm just kind of in the mood for T. Kingfisher, and I think this one will be nice since it's more like fantasy romance. But this one is not for the Cryptic Creatures Readathon, it's only for Aurelium, but it's for my Necromancer calling, and the class is Conjuration level Q, borrowing spells to borrow from another TBR. And so with this one, I know I've seen it at the time after I watched G's video announcing the props. I know I had seen it on some TBRs. I couldn't remember any specific ones, but then I was watching Sarah Hart's books, and she was doing her TBR game for September, and she ended up with this at one point. With her game, it's bakery themed, and she did have to scrap the batch. I'll leave that video link down below. It was bananas. But anyway, she did have to scrap the batch, but she kind of like goes into the lore of this bakery. And I like my chocolate chip cookies and brownies extra crispy. So with the lore of her bakery and such, like I figured I could still steal this from her TBR. So I have seen it on a recent TBR that I know whose it was on, even though she did have to scrap it. It was on there, and honestly, with the lore of the bakery, I would be perfectly happy to take those crispy bits. So, I'm excited about this. It's like the sword, and then like she inherits. Our main character inherits the estate of a wealthy uncle, but all the relatives are kind of after the wealth. And so she ends up pulling out this ancient sword, and suddenly a man appears, and he's like connected to whoever holds the sword to protect them. And it just sounds like such a fun, good time. And I bought this a while ago, so I'm excited to finally get to reading it. And like I said, I've read one horror from her and then her middle grade. And I've enjoyed both. And the writing style of both really works for me. So I'm hoping I will really enjoy this as well. So those are the books for round 4. I think this is gonna be a nice kind of change up. I've read some vampire books, um, and mostly like fantasy, and like the vernacular books are a little bit darker. I think this is gonna be a nice change up, like a little bit more lighthearted and whatnot. And I'm really looking forward to this. So that is for round 4. I'm gonna go to bed. I don't know what I'm gonna read yet. I really want to read Swordheart, but I'm thinking with my wrist, I might either go with Misty or start the Rosie project tonight. I don't know. I'll just have to see how it goes. But I'll be back once I've read these, and we'll see what wins for round 5. Like, things are starting to kind of dwindle down a little bit. But I'm excited to see the order that the rest of these books go in. So I will be back for you guys in just a moment, though. All right, so it is the morning of Sunday, September 14th, and I do have the results for round 5 of voting. And so for round 4, this is what I read. I actually ended up DNFing the Rosie project at only 20 pages. The writing was very misogynistic. I think so. In the beginning, it doesn't say that the main character is autistic because he's doing research to give a presentation on autism, which he calls it Asperger's, which isn't appropriate anymore. It never was, but especially not nowadays. But I know other countries, this is an Australian author, and I know other countries still use Asperger's, but there's ties to the Nazis and such with that, and so really not appropriate. But basically, our main character is very socially inept, doesn't read social cues, very, very strict with his rituals and his routines and such. And so his friend wants him to give a presentation on autism. I'm going to say autism, even though they use Asperger's in here. And so he's like, this is really interesting. So in the beginning, he doesn't it not been diagnosed. I think maybe he gets diagnosed later on, because I was reading some of the reviews and this was one said, this does for autism what Pretty Woman did for prostitutes, which, okay. Anyway, DNF'd at 20%. The writing was so misogynistic. There's a difference between not reading social cues and being a horrible person, okay? His friend, the one that wants him to do this presentation, is some kind of like social philosopher or something like that. I don't even know. And is basically sleeping his way through different nationalities. First red flag. And he has a date, and that's why he wants his friend. And so he's like, but it's cleaning night, and like I said, he's very stuck, and so he's like trying to problem solve. And his friend's like, I'll pay, a cleaning woman to come in. And so he's referring to this one cleaning woman as Short Shirt, like Helga or something is her name. Short Skirt Helga. The woman who's in charge of the presentation, his friend basically is like, describes her by her breast size. So things like that. And then he incites like these kids, 12-year-old autistic kids. He uses a hypothetical scenario where they're in danger and there's a baby crying and they need to be quiet because people are hunting them. And there's a baby crying, so what do you do? And there's a gun involved. Like that, that's not appropriate, And if you don't, you should never been put in that position anyway. So like 20 pages of that. I was done by page 9. I pushed through. I started this Wednesday night, and so I pushed through to page 20, and then I was gonna continue on because it's just a little romance. But I was so angry, and I was like, I just didn't want to. So Thursday I ended up going into town, getting lunch, hitting some thrift shops. Well, there's 2 in town, so I hit both of those in our little town, not the bigger one. But anyway, it just made me angry, and I ended up DNFing it at 20 pages because there was a lot of problems within those 20 pages. And reading the reviews, it has like 4.01 or something on Goodreads, and reading like the positive reviews, I'm like, are you guys reading the same book as I am? And maybe it gets better, the story does, but like the characters were so horrible in just those first 20 pages. I'm just like, no. So don't mean to go on a rant. Like normally I'm saving my thoughts on these books for my wrap up, but this one was not good. I got it from a little free library, and it's gonna go back to a little free library. So that one I DNF'd. Then Thursday, like I said, I just kind of wanted a little break, so I went into town, and then I played some World of Warcraft, I think, that night. No, I worked on my journal. That's what I did. I worked on my journal. And so I swapped because I still needed to fulfill the prompt for my herbologist restoration, Continental Remedies. So I needed an Australian author, which this other book is one I considered when I got that prompt. And so I ended up swapping it for Force of Nature by Jane Harper. This is the second book in the series, and you're basically the series follows this Australian federal police. He's like in finance division. And so the series is around him. And in this case, there's these women, 5 go into the woods. It's like a corporate team building retreat thing. 5 women go into the woods, only 4 come back. And he's involved for finance reasons investigating this business. So he ends up getting kind of involved in the investigation for this missing woman and trying to figure out what happened for her. This one I gave 3 stars. There's nothing specifically wrong with it. It's just not like, it doesn't wow me at all. Like, it's very mid. I enjoyed it. It goes back and forth between like present day and his, point of view, following him, and the past, week with these women from day one on this retreat, and you're following the different women's point of view. So it's switching between the women's point of view while they're on this retreat. I love that aspect. But him is just kind of lackluster. So I only ended up giving that 3 stars, but I was able to fulfill the prompt, so I'm very happy with that. Then you all had voted for Misty of Chincoteague by Margaret Henry. This one I gave 4 stars. I don't think I ever read this. Like, I do not recall the story at all. Like, what I knew of it was from the other books. But basically you're following Paul and Maureen. I really like the historical element here. And there is a lot happening. It's like, she's based the characters on real people and the events on real events that happen. She just kind of messed with the timeline a little bit, but all these events really happen. And so they want this phantom who in the past 2 years have never been caught. And this year she just does get caught because she has a foal and it slows her down. And so it's the wild pony roundups. And yeah, a lot happened in here, but it felt like it drug on. And it's a short little children's chapter book. But I did really like the historical element and everything, and I love horses, so this got a 4 for me. So we have a 3, a 4, and then we have Swordheart, which I am actually still reading. I read about 150 pages last night, and so I'm about a third of the way through. And I read those 150 pages pretty quick, so I have no doubt I'll be able to finish this today and then dive into whatever books are next. And I wanted to get this clip done because tomorrow, and get my books picked because tomorrow we're gonna be celebrating my birthday tomorrow. It's not my birthday tomorrow, but we're celebrating it because we have to go into this. Well, he has to work, 1, but 2, we gotta go to the city anyway for our eye appointments tomorrow. And so I was like, I don't really want to go into the city twice, so we'll just celebrate my birthday on Monday. We'll go do our eye appointments, then we'll have a nice big lunch and maybe do a few other things. So my point is, even though I'm not finished with this one, I did want to get my next books. And I have no doubt this is sitting at a 5-star right now, and I do not see that changing. I really don't know where the plot's going so much. Like, I think it's, her trying to get her inheritance away from her family. But I really enjoy the characters in here. They're a little bit older, which 36 is considered middle age. I'm turning 38 this year, so I'm like, I don't really think that's middle age, but it's like the 1300s, so in that time period, yeah, because he didn't live as long. But I'm just like, that 36 is middle age. Okay. So anyway, really enjoying this. I do not foresee it not being 5 stars because I love the writing and everything, and I love the characters. So I'm ready to tuck into this one today. But let's go ahead and go into the results for round 5. And so let's see, we always start with the children's books. So the children's, we got 16 votes this time. Bottom of the barrel was The Little Prince with only 19% of the votes. So there's that one. Then we had 31% of the votes went to Many Waters by Madeline Lingle. And the winner, I love how you guys did all the Bunnicula books, and now you're doing the horse books. So the winner is, let's see, got 50% of the votes, and that's C-Star Orphan of Chincoteague by Marguerite Henry. This is not for Aurelium, but it is for Cryptic Creatures, and this is for the Loch Ness Monster. Read a book with water on the cover, and you can see the water behind C-Star there. So very excited to read this one. And so we're following Paul and Maureen Beebe again. And another little pony from Chincoteague. So I'm very excited. Like I said, I love how you guys did the children's book. I read all the Bunnicula books. Now I'm reading the Chincoteague books, which is fantastic. And the next round, round 6, is the last round of children's books because there's only 3 books left. And I figure I'll just go in order of votes once we get down to 3 books. So that's going to be the last round, is the next one that you guys are voting on. I mean, you're seeing this after the fact, but right now, you guys are going to be voting on it next. And that's the last round of children's books. So I'm very happy you guys picked this one. Then we have our paperbacks, which got 19 votes this time. With 26% of the votes, we have The God of Lost Words by A.J. Hackwith. with, let's see here, 32% of the votes, we have The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam by Megan Bannen. And the winner with 42%, which I'm very happy this one because I was getting a little nervous because this is the only one I'm reading the whole trilogy. And so I'm like, oh. And that is Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. I'm very excited about this. I have read this one before. I have not read the other two though, but I need to reread this one because I don't remember it that well. And so this one is going to be for Animal Studies, Level O, which is Hatchlings, a debut book. And when I looked it up, this did say it was her debut. So I am very excited to reread this one. It's basically this world where gods are forbidden, but the gods gain power like when people worship them and such. And so there are a lot of different gods that arise, and one of our main characters is a god killer, so she goes around, and as people are devoting them, she takes out these gods, but she comes across this little girl that has a god attached to her, and so she can't kill it, and so she has to kind of figure that out. And there's a bunch of other characters and everything, and so I'm very excited to reread this one. And I didn't know she was a Scottish author. Or she lives in Scotland anyway. And so yeah, I'm very excited to read this. I actually made a mistake on the voting though, because the next book was supposed to be Sunbringer, but I put the emojis for Faithbreaker, which doesn't matter if it wins. I'll obviously read Sunbringer, but yeah, I just my brain this morning, I was just all excited and didn't realize I put the third book instead of the second book. But I'm just gonna go with it, and we'll see what happens there. But for now, we're going to get this one out of the way, which is very helpful because then voting wise for the next ones will be helpful. So that's the winner there. Then we have our hardback books, which where did I put my notes? So this one, we got 23 votes on this one, which is not the highest round. Highest round was 26 votes, but still pretty good. It's 23 votes on this one. The bottom of the barrel with only 9% of the votes was the September House, so it did not win. And then with, let's see here, these were tied, and I had my husband go. He is a subscriber, but I had him go and do the tiebreaker vote. So this one ended up with 43% of the votes, and that's The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Really looking forward to this one. But I kind of like that these two are going to be a little bit more towards the end of the month. That's actually very nice. And the one that won, I keep saying that in this video, but we got 48% of the votes, and that's Warrior of the Wild by Tricia Levenseller. I love Tricia Levenseller's writing, and these are actually very good books. Since tomorrow I'm not going to get a lot of reading in because Godkiller, I think, is less than 300 pages, and this one's pretty short, and it's young adult, and it's a quick read. And then obviously the children's book's going to be super quick. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. This is one of two of her backlist that I haven't read yet, and I want to get read before the new one comes out. I think I've already mentioned that in this video. But I'm very excited. This is like Viking inspired, and she kind of has to prove herself because it's like a warrior, like fighting, and you gotta be tough. So she kind of has to prove herself. And yeah, I'm very excited about this one. So this one is for my Necromancer Colleen, which I don't think Godkiller is for Necromancer as well. I don't know that I said that. I think I just said the class. But it's Necromancer as well. So this one's Necromancer Demonology, though, O level. And it's Impling Outburst, Emotion in the title. So I said, I had a hard time with this one because I didn't really have any books that had emotion. And so I went with, if you could use it after feel, like I feel, and I put I feel wild. And you could probably say I feel like a warrior too. So, but I feel wild, like you just feel crazy and out of control. So that's kind of how I'm interpreting that. And it is also for cryptid creatures. This one is for the Yeti and it's to read a book with a cold setting. So there is mountains in the background and it does look like they have snow on them potentially. And I did kind of flip through and at one point she jumps into like an icy lake, and I figure the icy lakes, it's got to be cold settings, so I'm going with it for that as well. And yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun today. I lost Swordheart, so this is gonna be kind of where I'm at today. I think I'm gonna finish up Swordheart, hopefully start Warrior of the Wild, and I'll probably bring Godkiller into town tomorrow, because like I said, my husband does have to do some work, so he's going to work in the morning before our eye appointment. So I'll probably bring this one to read tomorrow, because I don't want the kids' book because it's going to be a little too easy. But I don't want to bring a big chunky hardback either. So I'm excited. I'm hoping I can have these done by Wednesday and get the next round going. But we'll just have to see how it goes. So this is going to be kind of my next few days. And I think it's going to be a good one. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you for the moment, but I will be right back when we have the results for round 6. And we'll see what I'm reading next. All right, so it is about noon on Thursday, September 18th. And I am ready to move on from these ones. I'm not quite done yet, but we'll get into that in a second. But I'm ready to get my next set of books set out. And that way I can just dive into them. So Monday, we had to go to the bigger city for our eye appointments, and that's when we celebrated my birthday. And so we went out to lunch. So it was kind of an all-day thing. Really tired by the time we got back. And so Monday I only read about 50 pages that day, a little less actually. So I didn't get a lot of reading done. Tuesday I was just exhausted from being in town all day on Monday. Didn't feel the greatest. And Wednesday I didn't really feel the greatest either. I felt pretty good today. But Tuesday I ended up reading Sea Star, Orphan of Chincoteague by Margaret Henry. This took me all day, even though it's a little children's chapter book, less than 200 pages. It took me all day because my mind just wasn't there. And I think I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I didn't really love it. The kind of reasonings and such, I'll get into that more in my wrap up, but didn't fully love this one, so this one got a 3 star. I actually just finished Godkiller by Hannah Kaner this morning. This one's a 4 star for me, which I think it was the first time I read it. And the first time I read it, I had read it as an ebook, which I really tend to struggle with, so I didn't know how much of it was I was reading it as an ebook versus the story itself. Well, now I've read it physically, which is my preferred method, and definitely a 4 star. And then I'm just under halfway through on Warrior of the Wild. I read 144 pages, I want to say Tuesday night, because I didn't read it at all yesterday. And that was at bedtime. I flew through those 144 pages, but I needed to go to sleep. And so I have like 180 something pages left to go. And I have no doubt I'm going to fly through that today. Like, this story was really easy to get into. Right now it's sitting at about a 4 star. I'm really enjoying it. I love Tricia Levenseller, but this is definitely not my favorite out of what I've read of hers. So there is that one. I will be finishing this up today, but right now it's sitting at about a 4 star. And I did want to mention Swordheart did end up being a 5 star for sure. So there's that one. But round 6 of voting is done. As always, we'll go with the paperback, or the children's first, then the paperback, then the hardcovers. Now, round 6 was the last round for the children's books because there's only 3 left. So I'm just going to read them in order from, you know, the one that got the most votes to the one that got the least votes. So first up, we had 17 votes on our children's books. The lowest, with only 12%, was The Giver by Lois Lowry. Again, this one was like the giving hands and then the black speaking head. And this one is for Cryptic Creatures Readathon, so it's the only one for Cryptic Creatures, not for Aurelium. Not the only one. It's only for Cryptic Creatures, not Aurelium. I cannot speak today. And this one is for Mothman, which is to read a dystopian book. So I will be getting to this one with the last batch of hardcovers and such that I read. So that one got the least number of votes. Then, let's see here, at 29%, we had The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And this is for Aurelium, but it's not for Cryptic Creatures. This is for the class of lore O level, and it's Forgotten Tongues to read a translated book. And I believe this is translated from French. So that will be getting read with the next batch. And then the one, again, I keep saying this, it just, I don't mean to. The one that won is Many Waters by Madeleine L'Engle. So this is the fourth book in the Wrinkle in Time series. This one is not for Aurelium, but it does work for Cryptic Creatures, and it's for the Mongolian Deathworm to read a book with a desert setting. And I know it has to do with time travel and such, but you can see based on the cover, I'm pretty confident it's a desert setting. So I'm excited to read this. This is the biggest of my children's books. It comes in at 352 pages. But the writing is really big, the font is really big and such, so I should be able to read this fairly quickly. So I'm excited to get to this one first, and then obviously I'll finish up with the other two and wrap up my children's books. Then for our paperbacks, we had 15 votes, so not that many on this round. And the bottom of the barrel it had 20% of the votes, and I accidentally put the emojis for Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner, which is the third book in the series, when I meant to put the emojis for Sunbringer, which is the second book in the series. And either way, it would have, I would have read Sunbringer if that had won. That's kind of how I did it in the first rounds. If they won, I would just read the appropriate book of the series. Now, round 7, which is the round you guys, when I'm filming this, you guys are voting. Of course, when you're watching this, it'll already have passed. But round 7, because these two are part of the series, there will only be 4 books left. So round 7 is going to be the last round for paperbacks. And I did put both of these on, but they're going to be I'm going to have to tweak it a little bit depending on how the votes work out, because obviously I need to read Sunbringer first before I read Faithbreaker, but I'm really excited to get to these eventually because I just finished up Godkiller, and even though it was only a 4-star, I really liked the ending and where it ended, so. But not right now, those did not win. Then let's see here. With 27% of the votes, we had The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam by Megan Bannen. And the winner with 53% of the votes was Nightbane by Alex Aster. I'm really excited to get to this. This does not work for Aurelium, but it does work for Cryptic Creatures. And it's a who'll read a book with flight, which one of the kingdoms does have flight, and I know one of the characters, I double checked it, and it can fly. Now, it doesn't work for Aurelium, it does work for Cryptic Creatures, but it also works for Kim from Expeditions Through Pages game, because we're just reading for the giveaway, but one of the prompts was to read, we got a random generator, and it was the color indigo, and you can see the sprayed edges and kind of in here and such has indigo. So it will work for 2 things, but neither one of the books you guys chose so far worked for Aurelium, which is my main priority, but that is okay. We still got over a week left, so I think we'll be good. And then as far as the hardcovers went, we had 20 votes on the hardcovers. The bottom of the barrel, again, this one has seemed to be the bottom of the barrel all along, even though it's one I'm really excited for. And that's Tiger's Trek by Colleen Houck. So I won't be reading that yet. And then with 30% of the votes, we had Vengeance of the Pirate Queen by Tricia Levenseller. And the one, I just cannot say it, the book that won with 50% of the votes is The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I'm very excited to get to this one. This does work for Aurelium and for Cryptic Creatures. And so the class, the calling is Godseer. The class is Restoration Q level, which is the Continental Remedies one. So because I had to, because under herbologist, I also had to do this class. And I did 2 different random countries for each one. So in this case, we got Bahrain, Kiribati, Mexico, North Macedonia, and Turks and Caicos. And so I went with Mexico because I already had this, and she is a Mexican, I think she's Mexican-American author. So I'm very excited to read this. I have yet to read anything by this author, even though I do have a couple of their other books. But this is a newer release, and when I saw it, I was like, I'm really interested in that. And I know it says it's about kind of witches, and it says, back then when I was a young woman, there were still witches. That was how Nana Alba always began the story she told her great-granddaughter Minerva. And Minerva is a graduate student focusing on the history of horror literature and researching the life of Beatrice Tremblay, the obscure author of macabre tales. But as she's researching, she realizes that there's kind of ties between like her stories and such and the stories her grandma used to tell. And I think we get Grandma Nana Alba's perspective in here as well. So that will be nice. So that works for the Continental Remedies. And then for Cryptic Creatures Readathon, I put it for the prompt of Jackalope, which is to read a historical fiction. And since it does have that 1900s Mexico aspect, that's going to work for that. So I'm very, very excited to get to this. I've been eyeballing it. And so this will be my next hardcover. And so, yeah, I do still need to finish up Warrior of the Wild. And then we'll jump into the Bewitching and Many Waters and Nightbane. So this is what I'm going to be working on this weekend. I'm hoping I can read these fairly quickly and have my next picks pulled and started on Sunday, because next week is the last full week. So I would really like to get through these quickly, but we'll just have to see how it goes. But I'm excited about these. So that's what we're working with next. Like I said, I just put up round 7, which will be the last round for paperbacks. So when you guys next see me, we'll know the final order on the paperbacks, and we'll have one more for the hardbacks after round 7. So there will be a round 8 of voting, but it will be just for hardbacks. And at that point, I'll be wrapping up this video. And so yeah, I'm excited. I still need to get my workout in on the treadmill, eat some lunch, and then I'm going to be jumping into these books for the rest of the day. So for you guys though, it'll be just a moment and I will be back to see which books win for round 7. Okay, so it is the morning of Sunday, September 21st. I haven't finished any of these yet, but I really just want to know kind of my reading order for the next week, because this will be the last big push. So I am 84 pages into The Bewitching. I'm planning on focusing this today, and I should be able to finish it. And then Nightbane, I am 109 pages. Not loving this one, so I'm gonna focus on the other 2 and then hopefully work on this tonight, when typically I'm able to focus on reading a little bit better at night than I am during the day. So that will be for tonight. And then I'm only 30 pages through Many Waters. For Friday night, I decided to play World of Warcraft with my husband. Saturday, during the day, I decided to play with him again. And then I got 2 bookshelves, and so we spent the afternoon putting that together. Then we watched the 28 Years Later movie and the new Great British Bake Off show. And so I didn't really read yesterday until bedtime, and then I read like 50 pages at bedtime of The Bewitching. So yeah, I don't have great progress on those, but like I said, I was just really excited. The votes haven't seemed to change much. We kind of got the initial push of votes and then nothing. Now this was the last round of paperbacks. There's 4 books left, but 2 of them were part of series, so I decided just to put them all together. You guys voted perfectly. I was a little worried I would have to tweak it because the 2 books are in the series, but you guys voted perfectly. So we had, let's see here, 18 votes total with 11% of the votes. So this will be the last paperback that I read for the month, was The God of Lost Words by A.J. Hackwith. Then with 17% of the votes, this is the 3rd in that series, this Fallen God series, and that's Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. Like I said, you guys voted perfectly. And with 22% of the votes is the 2nd book in the Fallen God series, and that's Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. So I'll be reading these 2. I'll probably just read them back to back, most likely. Especially since they got, you know, the way they voted. And the winner with 50% of the votes is The Undercutting of Adam and of Rosie and Adam. I always switch the names, by Megan Bannen. This is the 3rd book in that series. And I forgot, I'll go ahead and tell you what each of these are for. So for this one, it will be for both Aurelium, sorry, and Cryptic Creatures Readathon. So Aurelium, it's for my Herbologist calling, which is Restoration O level. I've already read the Q level book, so it's great that I'm getting the O level book read. And this is Unbroken Focus Tincture to read a single POV. And I did look, the other 2 books were multi-POV, but this one, it said it's just from Rosie's perspective. For Cryptic Creatures is for the Michele Membe. I probably ruined that. And it's to read a book with dinosaurs or dragons. In the 2nd book, dragons came back to this world of Tanria. And you can see there's dragons on the cover. So that's perfect for that one. So that will be good. And then these other 2 that are part of the series are for Herbologists. So when I read these 3, I'll be able to complete my herbology calling, which is fantastic. So Sunbringer is, again, herbology, is for the class Alchemy O level, Liquid Sunlight to read a book with sun on the cover, and obviously there's a big old sun, and it's called Sunbringer. For Faithbreaker, again, Alchemy Q level, and it's Blossom Properties, cover in your birth flower color, which mine was an aster, and the picture showed it was kind of like a purple aster, is the picture that G showed. And they come in all kinds of colors though, but I went with the purple route, and there's obviously a lot of different purples. There's kind of purpley pinks up here, which work as well. And so yeah, that will complete, those 3 will complete my herbology calling, which will be perfect. For the God of Lost Words, and neither one of those 2 are for Cryptic Creatures. And neither is God of Lost Words. This is for my Godseer calling though, and it's Demonology O level. Impling Outburst, emotion in the title, and I'm going with Lost, because you can feel lost. So there's that. Now we're on to the second to last round of hardbacks. For these, we got 15 total votes. The bottom 2 were tied, and then obviously they're going to the last round. And so we have Vengeance of the Pirate Queen and the, let me get this sticker off here for you guys, The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. So these 2 are going on to the final round of hardcover voting. So I'll talk more about them next time you guys see me. So there's those 2, and the one that you guys chose is The September House by Carissa Orlando. I'm very happy you guys picked this one because this is my family book club pick and I need to read it by Sunday. So very happy you guys chose this one. This one is for Inscription. It's my Godseer calling. It's level O and it's Magic of Primes, prime number of letters in the title. And the September House, I believe, has 17 letters. I'm not going to count right now. But when I counted, I'm pretty sure it was 17 letters. And so, yeah, it has a prime number of letters in the title. So I'm very happy you guys picked this one. And so, yeah, there's that. So my next round, after I finish these three, which like I said, I'll be reading these today, really pushing hard. So hopefully I can start one of these guys tomorrow. But tomorrow's my big chore day, so we'll just have to see. And so yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on next. Of course, we've already talked about The Little Prince. It got the second tier of votes when the last round of children's books, and I don't know if I already said or not, but I'll just go ahead and say it again. This one's for my Godseer. It's lore O level. It's Forgotten Tongues to read a translated book, and this is translated from French. So that's the next three. Then I'll be reading, I don't know what hardback will be next. Like I said, there is still one more round of that. But I will basically be reading Sunbringer, then whatever hardback wins, Faithbreaker, the middle hardback, and then God of Lost Words with the lowest number of votes on whatever hardback. So that's kind of how it's going to play out, but I'll go over that, of course, once I know the reading order for the hardbacks. I'm going to give it till Tuesday or Wednesday, just depends on how my reading goes. I'm going to give it till Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I'll wrap up that final vote and see what the last little reading order is. I just like to kind of know like where I'm going. So that's kind of it for now. I'm going to go get tucked into these so I can then move on to these. So got a lot of reading still to do in this last, week and a half of the month. And so yeah, we're just gonna have to see how it goes. Fingers crossed I can really focus this week and get a lot of reading in. So I will be back in just a moment for you guys and let you know the results of the last hardcover round. Okay, so it is Wednesday the 24th. Including today, there is only 7 days of reading left. So 1 week of reading I have left to do. And I still have, 3, 6, 9, 10 books. So now 2 of those are children's. So that's 8 books. So I'll have to really push. And I'm hoping I can do it. But we'll just have to see how it goes. So I did finish these 3. These 3 actually kind of put me in a little bit of a slump. I am not going to lie. I struggled with every single one of these. Now, the Bewitching, I did end up giving it 4 stars. The beginning was a little bit of a struggle, but by the end, I was hooked. I was expecting more witchy. It was more academic. So, but in the end, it did get 4 stars because I actually really liked it in the end. Nightbane, I just finished this morning. Really struggled with this one. Isla was driving me insane. I ended up giving this 3 stars. There were things I did like about it. And then this one, Mini Waters by Madeline Lingle, got 2 stars. Which was such a shame because The Wrinkle in Time is like an all-time favorite of mine. And so it's kind of a bummer that this one didn't do so well. It had like weird sexual undertones and like seduction and just, I consider this a middle grade series. Definitely the first books are. Now the twins are 15 here, so it might be more young adult, but even so, like middle grade and deals with a lot of like theology and such, like for maybe more Christian readers, and having those elements, no. But that's not why we're here. I will talk more about those in my wrap-up, of course. We do have the results for the final 3 hardcover books. So we did end up with 22 votes on these. The bottom of the barrel, so the one I'm going to be ending the month on, is Vengeance of the Pirate Queen by Tricia Levenseller. This only got 27% of the votes. Pretty sure it's been bottom all along. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what these are, all the classes that these are for. Just that way you know. So this one is for my Necromancer calling. It's for Restoration O level, which is Unbroken Focus Tincture, and it's a single point of view. I did look it up, and it did say that this was single point of view, and it, you know, it's first person. So, so that's gonna be the one I finish up with, along with, of course, we already did the paperback results, but along with God of Lost Words by A.J. Hackwith. So these will be the last two books of the month. This is also for Cryptic Creatures Readathon, which is for the Kraken to read. I think it's pirate book. Let me double check. Yeah, book with pirates. So these will be the books I'm finishing up the month on. One for Necromancer, one for Godseer. So there's those. With 32% of the votes, we have God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I'm very excited about this one, but it is a chunky one, so it might mess with my reading speed. And this one is only for Cryptic Creatures, and so it's Jersey Devil, read a book with a family dynamic. This one, it's like this camp that's run by this family, and both of their children end up going missing, like, several years apart. But so I am excited to get to that one, and that one I will be finishing up with Faithbreaker, which is the last book in the Fallen God series. So those two will kind of go together. Then the one that you all chose, again, is just for Cryptic Creatures, but you guys gave this one 41% of the votes, and that's Tiger's Trek by Colleen Houck. And this one is for Rougarou, and it's to read a book with an animal on the cover, and obviously there's a big old tiger on there. So I know Vengeance of the Pirate Queen's YA, the other two read really fast, so I should be able to fly through that. This one as well, YA, should be able to fly through. I'm mainly just worried about God of the Woods. And that one I will be, of course, reading with the second book in the Fallen God series, Sunbringer, and then I'll be reading The Giver with that one as well. That's my last children's book. And then I have not started on the last set you guys saw, so I still have the September House, the Undercutting of Rosie and Adam, and the Little Prince, which is tiny. The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam should be quick. The other two read really quickly. So I'm hoping I can fly through that today, and then we'll just have to see how it goes with the September House. So I have those three. They're out in the living room waiting for me. And then these are the rest of the books I'll be reading for this last week. I'm really hoping I can pull it out. Like I said, those last three books I really struggled with. And then I also felt like playing WoW and such. So, you know, it's like, you kind of got to balance reading with life, but the rest of this last week, my priority is going to be reading. I've done all the big chores, so I'm not worried about that for the rest of the week. And next week, I'll probably just push them off towards the end of the week. That way I can take full advantage of the time I have left. Of course, we built bookshelves. I got some new bookshelves. I actually ended up ordering 2 more because I didn't have enough for my mystery thriller books. And so this is all going to change because I don't have any more room in the rest of the room that we're in. So this is all going to change. So you'll see a different background coming soon. And yeah, I'm just going to focus on reading the rest of this week. Now, this video is coming out on Monday the 29th. And so I'll still have 2 days of reading, I think. I think Tuesday's the last day of the month. So yeah, I'll still have 2 days of reading when this video comes out. So my plan is I'm going to hop back on probably Sunday because I want to edit this video on Sunday and get it up on Monday. Sometimes I just wait till Monday to do all my editing and getting up. We'll just have to play it by ear. So I will jump back on one more time just to let you know where I'm at, how many books I have left for the last couple days of the month. But hopefully, fingers crossed, I can just push through these. So the only two I'm really worried about is the God of the Woods and the God of Lost Words, honestly, because those are a little bit denser, the first two in that series. I read them quickly, but they are a little bit denser. So we're just gonna have to see how it goes. My main focus, I really want to finish Aurelium, but of course the last two books are for Aurelium. So, yeah, we're just gonna have to see how it goes. So I will be back on one more time to let you know where I'm at. And we'll just have to see what I have left for the last couple days. But as always, for you guys, it'll be just a moment, and I'll be back on to let you know. Okay, so we are back. It is actually Monday, October 6th. So even though it was just a second for you guys, it's been quite a while for me. I ended up getting really sick. You could probably still hear it in my voice. I got really sick. So the last weekend of the month, the last 4 days, I did not get hardly any reading in. And then I was sick the whole rest of the week. So it's been rough. And today, like, I felt better like yesterday, but I still felt really like exhausted and such. Today's the first day I actually feel a little bit better. I've been having to sleep sitting up. And last night I was able to kind of lay back a little bit. Our bed adjusts, thankfully, and so I did lay back a little bit. I did wake up coughing and had phlegm in my chest and such this morning, but it wasn't as bad. So I ended up going back to bed because I haven't been sleeping well, and so when I wake up hacking my lungs out, I end up just getting up. Where today was the first day. Yes, I was still coughing, but I wasn't as bad, so I went back to sleep. And so it's like afternoon now. I slept in, but seeing how I haven't been sleeping well, I'm gonna do what I need to do. And I've been sick for a week. So yeah, it's been a rough one. We had rattlesnakes in our yard that we were dealing with, which was a whole big thing. And then it was that time of the month, which happened all at the same time. So it was just been a horrible week. So my reading did kind of fall off the wagon. Now, I think when I last left you, I hadn't talked about these books yet. So I did read this next stack, which was the September House, the Undercutting of Rosie Adam, and then the Little Prince. All of these were 5 stars. I absolutely loved them. If you want my full in-depth thoughts, of course, that will be in my wrap-up, which should come out next Monday. Obviously I'm a bit behind. This was supposed to come out on the 29th, but I got sick. And so it's going to come out today, but it's going to be late. And yeah, we're just doing the things. Then I did read The Giver by Lois Lowry. 5 stars as well. This is a reread. It's my favorite book that we had to read in school. I've reread it multiple times. I absolutely love it. And then the last book that I just kind of nursed my way through was Tiger's Trek by Colleen Houck. And this one I ended up giving 3 stars. It did let me down. I was kind of on the fence between a 4 and 3 star, but all the things I didn't like about it, it's like, nah, it's more of a 3 star. And so, yeah, this was my last book. I was having trouble focusing, so I just read little snippets here and there, but I did finish it at bedtime on September 30th, so I did complete it within the month, which was fantastic. Now that left 5 books that I didn't get read at all, but I'm still going to read them, and so they're still going to work. I'm still reading them in the order that you guys voted on. And even though they won't officially count for the readathons, for my purposes, as far as like my character being on trend for graduating and getting my blackout in Cryptic Creatures readathon, I'm going to count it even though they don't officially count for like logging to the readathons. And so for Aurelium, I did not get demonology in my Godseer calling. I failed that class, which was the emotions in the title, which I'll talk about here. I did not get necromancer, which I failed restoration on that one, which was what was that one? I don't remember. Oh, unbroken focus tincture, so a single point of view. And then I didn't get my alchemy on my herbalist calling. I didn't get either one of those books. And that was Sunbringer and Faithbreaker. Sunbringer was a sun in the title, is liquid sunlight, or so a sun on the cover rather. And then Faithbreaker was my birth flower cover. So I didn't get any of those. But like I said, I'm still planning on reading them. It's still going to count for my personal purposes, especially since I did get sick that last week. And I have since started these two. So I've started Sunbringer and I've started God of the Woods. Granted, I'm not very far and we're a week into October, but you know, I got sick. I needed to take care of myself. And so I'm 35 pages into Sunbringer, and I will definitely be continuing that. And then I'm 64 pages into the God of the Woods. And now this one was for the Jersey Devil on my Cryptic Creatures readathon, which is a family element in it. And so Cryptic Creatures, I just missed 2 squares to get the blackout, but I did get 6 bingos. And had fun, but I'm gonna go for that blackout and finish these books. So I'm started those 2, and then I have not started these 3 yet. But obviously, like I said, I will be reading them. So after I finish these 2 books, I'll be reading Faithbreaker and Vengeance of the Pirate Queen, and then I'll round out with the God of Lost Words, which lost is my feeling, my emotion, because you can feel lost. And so yeah, and my flower was the purple aster. You can see there's a lot of purples and such, so went with that. But that's kind of where we ended it. So we're short 5 books, but that's okay. We read a total of 23 books for the month of September, which is fantastic. And like I said multiple times, I think, if you want to know my in-depth thoughts, I am going to be filming my wrap up right after this. And then I'll have that up next week. So this video will come out today as I'm filming it on the 6th. Once I can get it edited and uploaded, it will come out. It will be later than I normally get it out, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and film my wrap up right away, and talk about these books, and so I can get that edited and uploaded for next week. So I'm a little ahead of the game. I would love to know if you guys have read any of these books, or if you're interested in reading any of these books now that I've talked a little bit about them. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for getting us to 500 subs, and being part of this little community. And also thank you for those who participated in voting and choosing my reading order this month. It was so helpful. I always do really well if I have a goal I'm working towards. And so, you know, having those set of 3 and then working towards getting that next set of 3 and seeing what you guys voted for was really motivating and helped me out so much. And so yeah, I appreciate you all, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.